Okay. Show me.
Hi there guys, welcome back to the RSSI channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. And this here is the Tyo79S from Eachine or Banggood. Eachine is basically their house brand, if you will. This is an RTF drone. So it comes with a radio, lipos and even charger. It doesn't come with an FPV goggle, by the way. But, well, you can basically fly it as is. Now, as this quadcopter or drone is aimed at people that are new to the hobby, or at least drone flying, I thought it would be good to offer you some tips. So I'll offer you 5 tips here to make your experience better with this drone or drones in general, and more convenient and safer. So, 5 tips, here we go. Now, the first tip is very much in general, and that's to remove the propellers whenever you are working on your quadcopter. And we are going to be changing settings on the quadcopter, so this might seem cheesy, especially if you are already flying drones. You, however, wouldn't be the first to screw up your hands quite badly with these little puny propellers. So the rule of thumb basically is to remove the propellers whenever you're gonna hook the quadcopter up on 2 wires. What? Well, if you hook up the battery and the USB wire to your computer, then always remove the propellers. So if you're only gonna hook up the quadcopter to your computer and not hook up the battery, then you can suffice by not removing the propellers. But definitely during the course of this video we will have the LiPo connected and the USB cord to your computer or cable. So remove the propellers whenever you are going to be working on your quadcopter. And again, that's in general. Whenever you're going to work on any FPV drone, remove your propellers. Like so, and now it's safe to work on your drone. So that was tip 1. Again, for people that are already familiar with drones, that might be a bit cheesy, but it's never too late to, well, learn things. The second tip is about this radio, this Eachine branded radio. Some of you might recognize this radio as being from BetaFlight. BetaFlight sells the same radio in white. They are basically from the same manufacturer. Neither Eachine nor BetaFlight make these radios. Doesn't matter. For this radio you will need a program called OpenTX Companion. See, this radio doesn't have a screen. Other than that, it's a pretty nice radio. It's a no frills radio, no screen, but it has pretty nice gimbals and it has all the switches and such you need. Now again, it's a budget radio, but you can configure it to your liking with OpenTX Companion. And I'm mostly mentioning this because it might be hard for you to find the correct version for this radio. This is called a light radio or the light radio 2. And you need a special version of that OpenTX Companion for this radio. And I'll link to a webpage below. Actually a webpage by BetaFlight, and that clearly shows you how to download, first of all, OpenTX Companion, and you'll be downloading the correct version of it, and then to use it, how to use it. And I'll play you a clip here on, well, me browsing the settings of the radio with OpenTX Companion. It's pretty straightforward. You will need a little bit of getting used to the program, but it's nice to get you started right away because you will probably be using that OpenTX Companion in the future if you ever upgrade to another radio. See, all OpenTX radios use this program, or the other way around. The OpenTX Companion can be used with most of the OpenTX radios. So it's good to familiarize yourself with that. Also, it's the only way to change settings in the radio. See, there's no screen or buttons and such. There's no menu system in the radio. OpenTX Companion is the only way to, for instance, change out switches if you want to use different switches, which we'll come to in a second. So you will definitely want to use that program, and yeah, without this tip you will be chasing the wrong version. So there you go, tip 2. And tip number 3 for this quadcopter, and this one is specifically for this quadcopter, well, applies to other quadcopters as well. To configure a buzzer. Yeah, if you land a quadcopter like this in taller grass, you will find out that it can be hard to find your quadcopter. And then it can be very handy to flip a switch and have your quadcopter buzz. Now this quadcopter doesn't have a hardware buzzer, so not really a dedicated buzzer. However, in BetaFlight these days you can use the motors actually to buzz. Won't be as loud, but it will help you out. So it's useful to set that up. And it's not configured by default in this quadcopter, sadly. It should have been, so that's a bit of a downside to this Tyo79S. It should have been configured that way, but we will fix that right away. As you can see, I now have BetaFlight Configurator on screen, and there are millions of videos about BetaFlight Configurator already, so I won't bother you with that. Have a look at one of the millions about that. So for this step you will definitely need BetaFlight Configurator, and you will need that anyway to change any setting on your quadcopter. So BetaFlight Configurator, go check it out, you will need it. Now I have the drone already connected to my USB port, and that's all you need at this one. Oh yeah, I also have the radio switched on. Okay, and then I can hit connect. I see COM3 over here. That might be a different COM port in your case, but I do see a COM port here, and I hit connect. And I am now connected to the Tyo79S. Now the first thing we will need to do is determine which switch we will be using for that buzzer. And let's have a look at the receiver tab and actually check if the radio works, and you can see that the radio actually works. If you buy this quadcopter, it comes set up like so, as you see it here, ready to fly basically. Now the switches on the left of the radio are used already. These ones, aux 1 and aux 2. One is for the flight modes, and one is for arming. So we will be using SD, switch SD, which is at the top right of the transmitter. This one, aux 4, as you can see. So that's the auxiliary channel we will be using for our buzzer. Aux 4, pretty straightforward. And to set up a buzzer we need to move to modes, the modes tab. Not, well, might not make sense to you, but oh, I've already set it up. Let's delete that. So you will need to look for beeper here, the mode beeper, and add a range. Click. Now if you actually change that switch, it will automatically select aux 4. So that's pretty simple, right? But you will need to move this the slider to the right, so that this little tab will, well, be in this range. So click, clack, click, clack. Now that switch actually actuates the beeper flight mode. Again, that's a bit counterintuitive, but the beeper is actually a flight mode. Oh well. Again, aux 4, and that's switch SD is now enabling and disabling our beeper. Yay! Cool stuff. We, however, need to do one more thing. We need to go to the configuration over here, the third tab on your left. Scroll down a bit. And over here we need to switch RX lost and RX set on, and that is it. I will also change the melody a little bit, but that's definitely not needed. And that is it. Yeah, that's it. And then hit save and reboot. Hot cheeky day. That should be it. Let's test this. Okay, so this is actually definitely a step at which you could accidentally arm the quadcopter. So again, propellers off. And let me see, we need to switch the radio on. There we go, radio is on. Then we do need to hook up the LiPo. Now this here is the switch we programmed SD, top right corner on the transmitter. So let's see if it actually works. There you go. I'm not sure what this will sound like in the video, but there's definitely an audible beep. And again, it's not as loud as a physical beeper, but this will help you out. It'll actually be a little bit louder with the propellers on, so in the field. And again, if you crash or land your quadcopter in tall grass or maybe even in a tree, this will help you out to find your drone. There, pretty easy and doesn't cost a thing. Tip 4 is about the link quality between your transmitter and your drone. And that's usually called RSSI, or that's the value showing the link quality. And your quadcopter wants to know that. It's informative to BetaFlight, but also you can add it to your OSD, so the screen information you will see in your goggle. So definitely useful if you're flying along. You can see when you need to turn back to not hit, fail-safe, right? However, on this Tyo79S it's not configured, and to be fair, that's pretty common. So I won't knock Eachine for that. It's pretty common to have that not configured, but it doesn't cost a thing. So let's configure that right away. And to set that up, we need, again, a BetaFlight Configurator. Told you you would be needing BetaFlight Configurator, right? So get used to it. And this video actually serves, partly serves the purpose of familiarizing you with some basic features of it. Let's see, we again hit connect. I already have the quadcopter connected to my computer. And there we go. So RSSI, and that has to do with the receiver, right? So receiver tab on your left. And we also, I forgot to switch on my radio. But I have now fixed this, as you can tell. Yeah, really useful to switch on your radio for this feature. Now, you see the normal channels, right? The control channels to fly your quadcopter and the switches. And then you see a lot of channels that are unused, 5 to 11. But you also see this aux 12 here, which has an unusual value. And if I now move my radio away, you can see it jump up and down. Now that is actually our RSSI value. So the receiver in this quadcopter actually includes the RSSI as one of the channel values, and it's aux 12. However, BetaFlight doesn't know that. You need to tell BetaFlight that's the case. And you can tell that over here, RSSI channel, which is our RSSI channel. Well, guess what? It is aux 12. There you go. So again, that should have been maybe configured by Eachine like this. Why not, right? It's free, but also this is usually the case that it's not configured like this. So again, simply set up that RSSI channel to aux 12 and hit save. And that's it. That's all you need to do. Now your quadcopter knows it, and you can now include it into your OSD. Pretty nice. And for our fifth tip, we are still in BetaFlight, as you can tell. And let me see. Yeah, the OSD, is that a new thing to you? Might be a new thing to you. If you fly FPV, you can superimpose information, values like the voltage, the amp draw, the flight time and such, into your FPV feed. So what you see in your goggle. And OSD on your left over here. In this tab, you can configure that. You can add and remove information from your FPV feed. Now, if you are a new FPV pilot, you probably don't want a lot of information in this screen. You might get information overload. You might be too distracted from the actual flying, but from all the information. However, there are certain things you definitely do need. Want. Now the only thing that's set up in this Tyo79S is at the bottom warnings. Now the warnings definitely is one of the most important things, so it's good that they added this, but this is pretty sparse, right? They went a little bit overboard by trying to not, well, distract you with information. One thing I would definitely add is your flight time. So one of the timers, click timer, and let me see, timer 1 is now on time. I'd change that to total armed time, so your actual flight time. And as you can tell, it's now in the middle of the screen. I moved that around a little bit to, for instance, over here to your bottom right. Just as an example. This way it won't distract you too much, but you can give it a glance to check. So yeah, that way you can check if, for instance, if you know that your quadcopter can fly approximately 4 minutes on a battery, you can give that timer a glance, and if you are 3.5 minutes in, you might want to look for your landing spot. There, so flight time, that's definitely something I'd add. So your RSSI, in the previous tip we added the RSSI, and over here RSSI value, so you definitely want to add that. And again, it's added to the middle of the screen. I wouldn't do that. I'd move that to the upper right corner. And maybe you have different preferences. Well, if you're new to this, you probably don't have preferences at all. I always add the RSSI to the upper right corner. It'll also start blinking if it's too low. But this way it won't distract you too much, but you can give it a glance. Maybe if you are flying high up, you can check the RSSI to see, well, what it is. And if it's something above 40, it's pretty okay. So let me see, you can, well, play around with the values you see here on your left. For instance, your battery voltage there, that might be informative to you. I'm not even sure if this Tyo79 has a battery voltage monitor, but we'll see, and you can find out by simply adding it and testing that, and you'll see if your quadcopter will inform you about that of your battery voltage. So again, personal preference, what things you add to your OSD, but definitely only the warnings is a bit sparse. So, and again, this video serves to inform you about features of BetaFlight. So the fifth tip is having a look at the information in your OSD, in your on-screen display. So guys, those were a couple of tips, 5 in all, on this Eachine Tyo79S. I hope this video helped you out. This video definitely doesn't mean to knock on this product. I will actually have a review of it in the near future. Simply a couple of things that will improve it. And to be honest, at this point in time, I definitely don't know if it's a great quadcopter. The radio is pretty nice. The quadcopter, I simply don't know. But again, I will have a review of it shortly. For now, I want to thank you for watching. If you are left with questions, hit me up a comment down below. Catch you on the next video. Bye bye.